All right, guys, here we are, week 4. It's hard to keep these weeks aligned and everything because I'm grading one, you're doing another, and I'm planning the next week. So it's kind of confusing with what's going on. But this week we are going to get into personality disorders. This is kind of a fun one. Not a lot of busy work this week, guys. Really just a Flipgrid response it's going to be due on Friday. So I just want to kind of like give you an idea of what you're going to be doing and go through these personality disorders so that you can be successful in online learning psychology. So our objective is that you can diagnose a fictional character with a personality disorder using specific references to the character's actions and whatever you watch it in, a film, a TV show, or a celebrity, to the DSM-5 criteria. We're going to be going through some of that DSM-5 criteria today. I've also linked the personality disorder section of the DSM on your Schoology, along with a couple extra resources. Like there's like a YouTube movie that kind of gives some examples from movies of what it looks like. So do that. So as we're going through this, I want you to be thinking about what character you're going to choose to do your Flipgrid response on, okay? Because you're going to need to watch a movie or you're going to have to watch a TV show. And I want you to choose what you do. I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to choose and make it your education and have a little more intrinsic motivation. And then so as we're going through this, you know what character you're kind of choosing. What behaviors am I looking for in the movie or the TV show? Right? And which personality disorder am I going to choose? There's 10 to choose from. So as we're going through these, be thinking about some characters, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples of some of those who kind of align to that as we go through. So first thing, of course, what is personality? Personality is an individual's characteristic pattern of thinking, feeling, and acting. Basically, it's your way of dealing with the world, and in particular, your way of dealing with other people. This is one of those personality disorders are one of those things that's really kind of on the subjective end of the spectrum. Guys, this is also a humbling moment for our class that even though this is the best class in the state, there's a lot that we don't get to. There's a whole chapter in our psychology book about personality and Freud's theories on personality and things like this. So this is one of those things that, hey, there's a deeper dive. You know, we're just kind of grazing the surface of this whole topic. So here's your definition of a personality disorder. Okay, right? It's an enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that, here we are, 4Ds, deviates markedly from the expectations of an individual's culture and is pervasive and inflexible, has the onset in adolescence or early adulthood. When we're looking at Don Quixote, this is one of the things that kind of takes him out of the realm of personality disorder because his onset is until he's old. So onset in adolescence, usually it happens when you're 15 to 18. It's stable over time and leads to distress, usually to other people, or impairment, or yourself in some of these different disorders. So that's what a disorder is. Again, this is one that we can say there's a little ambiguity to this. It's a little subjective. It really goes with the Thomas Sands quote that we looked at in week 2 about, is this society's way of labeling somebody as, oh, you're mentally ill because you don't care about other people, So again, we continue to decide where that line of abnormality is. It just stinks with this online learning because we should be talking more about this line of abnormality and where we see, is it where somebody needs treatment? Is it where somebody is so distressing and deviant that they're freaking everybody out, right? So again, this is one of the more subjective of again, not a medical decision, these disorders. So let's go down the list here. First one is paranoid personality disorder. It's a pattern of distrust and suspiciousness that others' motives are interpreted as malevolent. Love that word, malevolent, right? Just evil intentions, right? People are out to get me. People are trying to steal my stuff, right? Here is the criteria. Again, all of this is, I've got a link of that on Schoology, so check it out. Yeah, so suspects without sufficient basis that others are exploiting, harming, or deceiving them, is preoccupied with unjustified doubts about the loyalty and trustworthy of friends and associates. Yeah, you just don't trust anybody, right? Paranoid personality disorder. It just has gone so far that you're not just kind of like a little distrustful. You seriously you've gone into the realm of mental illness, right? So, of course, you guys can read these. Let's do another one. Why not? Reads hidden demeaning or threatening meanings in benign remarks or events. Like he was. So, a lot of Freud stuff, a lot of defense mechanism, it seems like, in this one. Schizoid personality disorder is a pattern of detachment from social relationships and a restricted range of emotional expression. Here is the DSM for that, right? Doesn't enjoy close relationships, right? Schizoid, always chooses solitary activities, has little, if any, interest in having sexual experiences with another person, right? I think a really good example of this is Batman, right? Batman, Bruce Wayne, his best friend is his butler. I know that he's got to be working out to be Batman, right? He chooses solitary activities, right? It says takes pleasure in few, if any, activities. Does Batman take pleasure in beating the crap out of everybody? After he beats him up, he's like, why do I still feel terrible, right? Or was that Bane? No, I think that was Batman. Okay. Emotional coldness, detachment, flattened affectivity. So this is the big thing. It's just not really good in interpersonal settings. Schizoid personality disorder. I think of Batman, right? Schizotypal, not schizoid. Schizotypal is a pattern of acute discomfort in close relationships as well. Cognitive, perceptual distortions and eccentricities of behavior. This is one, ideas of reference. We talked about that last week when we talked about schizophrenia, where you think everything's about you. You have this like superstitiousness, beliefs that things are going on. You have these like bodily illusions, perceptual experiences, suspiciousness, paranoid ideation, right? Inappropriate and constricted affect, eccentric. I can only think of one guy for this, guys. Willy Wonka, right? Willy Wonka can definitely everything's about him. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? Odd beliefs, magical thinking, influence behavior consistent with subcultural norms, right? I think that's definitely a criteria with Willy Wonka, right? I think that the excessive social anxiety, diminished with family, he's just by himself in there. He hangs out with Oompa Loompas. His best friends are Oompa Loompas. Okay? Schizotypal personality disorder, right? You're just kind of an eccentric, super eccentric, to a level where you're mentally ill. Borderline personality disorders is instability in interpersonal relationships, self-image, affects, marked impulsivity. This is one you could maybe get a comorbid with bipolar sometimes, maybe, because it's just like you just don't I think number 3 is really important. Identity disturbance. You just don't have a good sense of self. You just have an unstable self-image that's just not even right? You have frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment, and you have this pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating extremes of idealization and devaluation, right? They're the greatest person in the world. Oh my God, my boyfriend is so great. I love him. He is so horrible. He is the worst. He is abusive. He's throwing me on the ground. Right? This is like borderline personality, right? Impulsivity. You'll see a lot spending, just all of a sudden everything, a couple packages come from Amazon, a sexual promiscuity, just some impulsivity, borderline personality. You can read through these guys: inappropriate, intense anger, difficulty controlling anger, these kinds of things, transient. Check them out, guys. You've got the resources on your Schoology. Check it out. Borderline. I thought Anakin Skywalker is what you'll see in that website that I put up for you. Because he's like, he doesn't know the dark side. He's just he's afraid of getting abandoned. His mom died. He's got this lady he's in love with, and he's just something weird with that. He's just got some identity issues. Am I Darth Vader? Am I Anakin Skywalker? Right? Borderline personality. Histrionic, this is one of my favorites because this is probably the one that I would probably most align with, right? My friends in high school would say that anyway. It's excessive emotionality and attention seeking, right? You have this is just where you're just like, it's about you, right? You have to be the center of attention, or you're just not cool, right? And there's also these, well, I guess this one isn't me, but inappropriate, sexually seductive or provocative behavior. Things like this, right? You're just like, and generally speaking, you'll see this, that generally histrionic is more female than male, okay? Shifting shallow expressions of emotion. It's just theatrical. It's just all about you, right? It's just all about you, right? You like are hugging people even though you don't even really know them, right? You just say because it's all about you, right? Great example of this, of course, Derek Zoolander, right? Derek Zoolander, tremendous example of histrionic, right? It's just blue steel, right? It's all about him. It's all about him. Narcissistic. This is, of course, comes from the Greek myth of Narcissus, who drowned himself by looking at himself in this reflection, right? You just a pattern. You need grandiosity. You need admiration, lack of empathy, right? These kinds of things. Narcissism, right? Narcissistic personality disorder. Let's take a look at that. Has grandiose sense of self-importance, preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with or special or high status people. Requires excessive admiration, has a sense of entitlement, is interpersonally exploitative. He takes advantage of others, right? I couldn't really think of a good example of narcissistic personality disorder. So I think you may be on your own with trying to figure out and navigate like what narcissistic personality disorder looks like. So we'll just continue on that note. This one is really interesting, right? Antisocial personality disorder. This is probably one of the most important ones that I want you to know, because this is what a psychopath is, right? This is psychopathy, a sociopath. You can really use those two terms interchangeably. They're typically male, selfish, callous, impulsive, sexually promiscuous. These are just people that just don't care about other people. They just have no empathy for other people. A lot of murderers would be considered antisocial personality disorder. If you're going to be going into criminal justice and forensic psychology and things of this nature, or criminal pathology, antisocial personality disorder, you got to know, right? Because they're easily bored, and they seek out stimulation. Sometimes it's by hurting other people, right? And this is like, they don't conform to social norms, lawful behaviors. Maybe drug dealing, deceitful, lying, uses of aliases, conning others impulsively, or failure to plan ahead, irritability, aggressiveness, reckless disregard for the safety of self or others. I mean, I don't really know. The best example of this is James Bond. right? Because James Bond, he changes his alias. He's having multiple sexual partners. He's sexually promiscuous. He's just running around towns, crashing cars, blowing people up, not really caring about what's going on. Definitely antisocial personality disorder. Also, R.W. McMurphy from Cuckoo's Nest is somebody who a lot of psychologists would say has antisocial personality disorder. This is a really good one when you're connecting with crime. And I think a lot of people will probably choose this one to do for their Flipgrid response because you're gonna see that one in movies a lot. And some would say it's not a mental illness. James Bond, a lot of these people who have antisocial personality disorder don't know they have it, right? Because James Bond's not gonna go, hey, I just have this problem with this life of promiscuity and adventure and changing my name and not knowing who I am and killing all these people. He doesn't do that. He knows he's successful and he likes it, right? They can be successful. We only know the ones that are unsuccessful. They're cold-blooded, ambitious, and there's a lot of theories that these people with antisocial personalities are the people that run the world, right? Because they don't really care. Like Stalin, probably had antisocial personality disorder because he just didn't care about what happens to people, right? Avoidant, we're going to go through these last three pretty quickly. Avoidant, a pervasive social inhibition, feelings of inadequacy, hypersensitivity to negative evaluation. I think that's kind of the key. Is just like you just don't like criticism and you just don't like disapproval or rejection, so you just don't even go out there and put yourself out there. You're just avoidant of criticism. Dependent, pervasive, excessive need to be taken care of that leads to submission and clinging behavior and fears of separation. Right, you could see that you're just dependent. I need you all the time. Right, excessive amount of advice and research. I don't know if I can do this unless they say it's okay. Right, you're dependent. Obsessive compulsive. We already talked about this during anxiety disorders. This is just the personality disorder version of it, where you guys know you have these. Everything has to be in order. Perfectionism. These kinds of things. So, just want to go through those really quick. Again, you guys have all of the things that you need, right? Paranoid, schizoid, schizotypal, borderline, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial personality disorder, that's the psychopaths and the sociopaths, avoidant, dependent, OCD. So you're off, right? Watch a movie. Get your notes out. Know which ones you're going to be doing. Look at the criteria. I've given you the DSM. That surely you can Google some ideas if you're totally lost. Watch Silence of the Lambs is going to have, they have a couple of personality disorders in that. There's just so many, guys. I could just go all day. I mean, you're going to be able to see a lot of these. Mean Girls, narcissistic personality. I put that video on Schoology so that can maybe inspire you, but watch what you want. Okay? You choose. I've been watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. I'm thinking maybe Michael Jordan has a little antisocial personality disorder because, he's one of the successful ones, right? So these are just some ideas to keep in mind. This is the screenshot from that website I gave you that kind of shows you this is what I want you to do in your Flipgrid. I want you to kind of go down the criteria and give examples of the behavior that you witnessed and observed in the movie that you watched, that you're going to watch, that you're going to choose. Okay? So this is what I want you to see. Like, for instance, Zoolander is in comfortable situations where they're not the center of attention. He's never not the center of attention when he walks into a room, right? It's Derek Zoolander, right? So it's suggestible, easily influenced. Yes, the whole movie, right? Mugato is telling him to kill people, right? So this is what you do. Really excited to see the Flipgrids because I haven't seen you guys in a while. I miss you guys. It's just not the same. I wish we could be having these conversations, but luckily no other schools are meeting right now. So we still are the best class in the state. That's very exciting. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. And this is pretty much all you have to do is watch this lecture, watch a movie, take notes, diagnose, do the Flipgrid. We'll see you next week.